So we just finished having a very interesting conversation. And in the process, I would say that was rather introspective. I think that there was a lot of self-evaluation that happened in the very recent conversation. What would you call that, my brother?
I'd probably call it introspection. So this is this is very interesting. Hey, we're back, It's funny. Every time I feel like we have our podcasting days, a pimple just comes on my face somehow, some way. Every time that I have to present some shit to you all, pimple right on my fucking face, man. I tell you, every time we don't, skin's clear. I don't know what that means. Maybe it's stress. I don't know. Is it stress?
Maybe the wisdom that you're going to impart on our viewership.
That's what it is. It's just all bottled up in one place on my face, apparently. So I guess that's a pause. Anyway, so back to introspection. So when we're talking about growth and also maturing yourself, most people try to, I believe, look outward for validation, look outward for sources to help them grow. And to a certain extent, that does help. Like if you're looking at this podcast, technically you're looking outside of yourself for some advice on something. That's understandable. It makes sense. However, I would say 50% of growth, if not more, comes from you looking within yourself and finding out what makes you tick, how you operate, and how you can improve. And once you figure those things out, or I'd say get a better grasp on them, you're able to maneuver throughout this thing called life a little bit better. And I feel like that's something that we've been having to do a lot lately, especially myself. I would look at certain things before and just react. I would just have a certain feeling, a certain thought towards something without even thinking why. And I just respond to it. Like, say, for instance, if someone said something to me and it rubbed me the wrong way, I would just feel that feeling and automatically think that person's in the wrong. But recently, I've been thinking, is that true? I don't know if that's true. Is that person really wrong, or is it how I'm interpreting it? If it is how I'm interpreting it, why do I interpret things like that? Why am I casting this negative emotion on that person as opposed to realizing what's the true source of this issue that I'm having? And most of the time, people that go throughout life that may have a bad day, or you interact with them and they're not, all the way, I guess, just cordial and happy with you, people are like, man, that person's an asshole or whatever. But normally it's something that's happening to them or affecting them internally that's causing them to lash out and causing them to speak negatively and causing them to do the things that they're doing. And, a lot of people kind of cast that to the side. However, if you want to have better relationships, better partnerships, better business partnerships, better relationships with anybody in general, in my opinion, you have to get better at learning yourself and realizing why you do certain things, how you do them. And to me, that's been one of the most pivotal things that I've found in the last month or two, to the point to where I'm slower to anger, in my opinion, than I would have been, years back. I'm more open to certain things, and I handle relationships better than I used to. Beforehand, I felt like my relationships were fickle, very fragile, and I would normally blame that person, say that person wasn't good enough. But I had to start looking internally and say, well, if all my relationships and if all my, whatevers go like this, maybe just maybe I play a part in that as well. So what am I doing wrong, or how am I viewing certain things incorrectly that could be changed, that could lead to a better, relationship or friendship or what have you? So, Jose, in your opinion, what recently do you feel like that you've done some introspection on, that you felt like you've matured and grown from doing so over the last like month or two, couple months, or even like in the last year? Because I feel like we've been going through similar kind of introspective periods in our lives recently that has changed us for the better, in my opinion. I don't know why I have this fucking AirPod in. Totally forgot about that.
The main question is, how honest do you want me to be? No, I'm kidding. And I'm glad you asked this question, because I had a follow-up question for you, but we'll get to that one after this. So to provide you with some insight and information to our fellowship, we've been gung-ho for over 2 years, just one action after the other. Every opportunity we've said yes to, every potential we've evaluated, and we've pretty much acted on everything that was at our doorstep, and then some. Now, this is important, especially when you're in a dormant stage in your business or you're beginning something. You have to say yes to everything. But what does that do? You lose your sense of self in the process because you're so consumed by the actions at hand. And we're in an interesting situation now where everything is slowing down intentionally. And what happens is you realize, okay, now there is some time that we get to spend on ourselves, whether it's introspectively or whether it's building our physique or whether it's nurturing relationships. And so spending this time alone and getting this time to rekindle your relationship with yourself is very important. And what I personally have learned in the process is that a lot of the actions that we've taken and the way we've been moving has been inspired by a desire to succeed. But what's behind that desire to succeed, and how do you determine success? So I'll give you an example. In our business, one of many businesses, when we first started, our Excel sheet for our P&L had maybe 20 or 30 items on it. And so we're trying to predict success based on 20 or 30 items. And to date, there's one line item that remains from those 20 or 30. That is to say, you don't always understand what you're focusing on. But when you experience and you learn and you gather more data, when you're doing your self-reflection, you're doing that introspection, you realize what's actually important and what actually matters, what's actually driving results, what's working towards your purpose in your life, as opposed to just doing a whole bunch of things and labeling that as progress or as I'm succeeding in whatever domain it is that I'm succeeding in. All that to say, just because you have motion doesn't mean you're doing anything. That's what I've learned. And the other thing I've learned is, who is that motion for? Is it for you? Is it for your family? Is it for your loved ones? Or is it just to show off to other people? Are you trying to prove something to somebody, or are you trying to succeed in something that you set out to succeed in? Kobe Bryant didn't care what anybody thought about him. Kobe just wanted to win. He was going to do what it took from him to win. To a degree, most of the greats are like that as well. Now, some of them obviously want the recognition, but at the end of the day, that introspection, in my personal opinion right now, has really been important because I've been able to decipher my motivations behind my actions and realizing that 90% of my actions are not aligned and have not been aligned for a very long period of time with what the actual goal is. And let me tell you, that's a very painful realization. It sucks. You feel like a dumbass. Newsflash, you're a dumbass and you suck. So figure it the fuck out and get your ass back to the main thing. Because at the end of the day, I'm a very gung-ho motherfucker. I do everything. I don't stop. But as Austin always says, why? That's all you have to ask yourself. Why?
And again, the book is on the table. Start with why. So many good conversations and, realizations happen from just that one simple word and question. Why? And normally, after a couple layers of bullshit, you really get to the real reason as to why someone is doing something. Or they'll start to ask themselves and get to the real reason as to why they're doing something. And that just reminded me, what if I told you all that you're probably one of the biggest liars that you know? You, right there. I'm probably one of the biggest liars I know. Jose is probably one of the biggest liars he knows. Everybody is probably one of the biggest liars they know. Now, when I say that, you're probably like, what the fuck? I don't go around lying to people. Sure, you don't lie to people. You don't lie to other people, sure. But how much do you think do you lie to yourself? I think people lie to themselves on a daily basis, and that's exactly why they are where they are in life. There's so many things that we can pick upon on a daily basis to where we just lie to ourselves to make ourselves feel better. I'm okay. I'm happy. I don't need to go to the doctor. My relationship with my parents is okay. It's fine. My job is cool. I like it. I feel good about my weight. I feel good about how I look.
I feel good about my mate.
I feel good about my mate. I feel good about, my, what is it? My sister, as far as like our relationship, I feel good about, my friendships. I feel good about all this stuff, right? And it sounds good. It makes you feel a little bit better. It makes you kind of tuck all that, the real trauma, real bullshit to the side, and you don't have to worry about it. But if you're being real and honest with yourself, it's like, none of that is fucking true. Most of the time throughout our day, we lie to ourselves so much to avoid having to get to the real fucking problems. Because people think that just external shit is work. And sure, like, of course, me lifting up this fucking phone is work. Me fucking doing a push-up is some external work. Now, is it a lot of it? No, but it's me doing something, right? Like me going out and going to school is work. Me going to my job every day is work. Yeah, sure. Understandably so. However, most of that is kind of written for you. It's within the confines of, what you're comfortable with. It's like bumpers on a fucking bowling alley, right? As long as you fucking roll the ball somewhere in there, it's not going to bounce too far off to the right. It's not going to go in the gutter because the bumpers are fucking there. So even though it's some work, it's understandable work because you kind of know the ins and outs of it. You're familiar with it. But one of the things that we're not familiar with, which we cast aside and avoid on a daily basis, is really getting to know who we are, what we are, and why we function, how we function. And even if you increase that by 2 to 5%, I think that's fucking huge. Because once you're really, really honest with yourself as to why you do what you do and, what motivates you, then you can start to see things from a different lens. It's like, okay, I don't hate you. And most people, when you're thinking about like prejudices or, bigotry and things of that nature, it's like people hate people and they cast some dumb reason really behind it just to say, yeah, I hate this person because XYZ. Is that really why they hate that person? Probably fucking not. So I can say I hate you because of how you look. But the real reason could be I hate you because you're not, or I don't look like you. That might be the real reason. The real reason is because I'm not secure within myself. So I cast that outward in a form of hate towards you. But again, most people don't want to be honest with themselves and say that's the real reason and try to do something about it. Because again, external work is some type of work, but when you're looking within yourself, that's really hard work as well, because you really don't know yourself as much as you think you do. And trying to figure out what that means and how that affects you and how that affects other people and how you can improve and how you can improve and still be yourself at the end of the day and be, you know, okay with that is difficult to do. Very difficult to do. But as you grow, because most people probably watching this podcast are around our age, as you grow and get older, you start to become a little bit more knowledgeable on yourself and how you operate. Now, some people get stuck in their ways and feel like they don't have to change. However, if you're noticing that people may come to you and then leave, or the people that you gravitate towards, they end up leaving, the relationships that you have end up falling apart, the things that you work on end up falling apart, this is when, in my opinion, if you're stuck in your ways, you need to reassess and do the work, the inward work, to realize, hey, there's some work that I need to do internally. And I've been lying to myself, feeling like, okay, I'm just the best thing since sliced bread, or I'm doing a good job, or that person was wrong, I wasn't wrong, that person was wrong. No, you might be fucking wrong. You have to assess, how did I handle this? How did I say this? What was my body language in this moment? What was my tone in this moment? Even though it might not be a big deal to you, to others, it could be coming off a certain way, and that could be ruining a lot of good things for yourself. So just being honest and transparent to yourself, saying, hey, look, shit, I want to be 200 pounds. I'm 185. I have to do some work. It's not my natural fucking body weight. Like, sure, I just consistently go back to 185. But that doesn't mean that I have to be stuck there my whole life. That means that I have to do some fucking work to get to 200. But again, most people don't want to be honest with themselves and say, hey, this is what I have to do, you know? So whatever conversation that you need to have with yourself in order to take that first step, which is acknowledgement and realization that there is a problem within yourself and you need to be open and address it, you're going down the right path. Acknowledge it and be honest and see where it takes you.
Moment of silence for the truth. I want to make something very clear, and that's that you will never get this right. You will always need to reevaluate and reperform the introspective process. It doesn't matter how good you are, who you are. It's something that's never ending, and it never will end. So set that expectation right now and understand it. That being said, Austin, I believe one of the best processes that you can implement in this instance is refactoring your character and refining it every time. Now, for our audience, could you explain what refactoring means in layman's terms?
Well, to be honest with you, it depends on, I guess,
The context.
yeah. So
This context.
I would say essentially to revitalize, change, what's the word? Kind of adapt in a sense, rejuvenate, kind of essentially bring back to life or change the energy from facing this way to potentially going towards another direction. So
I agree.
okay. I know it wasn't textbook definition. If you look up the textbook definition, it's probably not that at all.
It's
like,
gonna be
oh,
like
what the
one
fuck?
word. Refactoring is refactoring, or refactoring is refining, whatever it is. But essentially, it's an iterative process. It's never complete. It's going to always have to happen and reoccur time after time again. So don't think that you're just going to do one introspection and you'll be fine. This is something that you need to program. Like all good things in life, you need a system, whether it means that, hey, once a month you're sitting down with your notebook and you're journaling and you're writing, or you're talking to a confidant, a brother, a sibling, a parent, what have you, or a loved one, and they're performing essentially character analysis on you because you're realizing that, hey, I'm not where I could be and I'm not necessarily where I want to be. And if I am where I want to be, that's great. But even then, there's going to be a price for me to maintain this. And so I always need to make sure that I'm on top of my game. Therefore, I always need to keep up with these things. Now, easier said than done. Is it fun? No. But is the outcome worthwhile? Absolutely. Does it take time? Yes. But all good things in life take time. Therefore, I implore you not to be discouraged that this is never a complete process and it's not a one and done. This is something that you need to adapt into your life in order to improve your life. And that's not just once, it's continual. And you'll never get it right. Just like supply chain. You're either over or you're short. You're never on the dot. But hey, we cut our losses.
Honestly, I personally think my life has changed a lot because I went through a situation which essentially changed my focus from outward 100% of the time to inward a lot of it. And at first I used to view this as kind of like a curse in a sense, because it's like I felt kind of detached from the world around me. But in the long run, I felt that it's helped me a lot, because now I understand who I am. I understand why I do certain things a little bit more. And it helps me be able to communicate that with other people. And it helps me be able to kind of meet people where they are in a sense. And beforehand, I used to view things as like, hey, if this person didn't agree with me, then they're wrong. And, I'm not about to sit here and try to, listen to them or, rationalize what they're thinking. Fuck them. But now I've grown, and I don't want to say gotten nicer, because I wouldn't call it that, but more open to listening, because I understand now that me and how I operate, how I was raised, the things that I saw, the things that I encountered are very different than most people, and vice versa as well. So understanding more about a person, being open to hear more about their story, allows you to be able to connect and grow with them a lot better than if you just stay on the surface level. So it's like, imagine you're on a date with whoever you're on a date with, and you want to get in a relationship with them. That's your long-term goal, or just your goal in general. If you ask surface level questions, you're probably not going to get to that point, because normally when two people decide that they want to be together, it's essentially like a handshake of the souls in a sense. It's like you're meeting that person, or you're interacting with that person at their core level. You're really, really understanding that person. And that's why asking the question why is so important, because you really start to dig deep into who a person is. So whenever you're on this date, if your goal is to get into a relationship with them, you have to ask these really deep, non-surface level questions. And if you're open and they're open, you really start to see who that person is. And once you do this, this not only helps you be able to understand who a person is so that you can realize, okay, yeah, I want to be with them. It also helps you realize, hey, I don't want to be with them. And I feel like both of those are equally important and equally good, because if you really, really get to know a person, and sure, they might be great, but you come to find out they're not great for you, you get to save so much time and effort and turmoil and pain that you wouldn't have to fucking go through, that you probably would have gone through in the past if you would have just stuck on that surface level. It's like, oh, hey, they're attractive, so let me just fucking talk to them type of thing. So all that to say, whenever you're going through this journey of introspection, make sure that when it comes to getting to know people, talking to people, that you're having these real deep conversations, because it'll help you with things like, again, building a long-term relationship, but also building a long-term partnership with someone as well, because you really understand where they're coming from when they do certain things, right? Say, for instance, like if Jose does something, I realize now more than I have before, it's coming from a place of XYZ as opposed to where I thought it was originally. So now if I know where it's coming from over here, it's like, okay, I understand why he's doing this. He's doing it because of XYZ. So in situations like this, don't look at it from a perspective of, oh, yada, yada, yada. It's okay, he's doing it from this perspective, and I respect it because I understand, again, either how he was raised or understand how his mindset is. And it's not coming from a place of like malintent. It's coming from a place of that's just how his life was. And if you understand that about a person, you're able to work with a person a lot easier and a lot longer, as opposed to if you just know them at a surface level and you just are casting your assumptions upon them. So again, when you're trying to do this introspection on yourself, be open, ask a lot of questions, and really dig deep into, the people that you meet, and understand, hey, I know that I've been through a lot in life and I've had to find myself, but also realize that people more often than not are going through that same journey. And if you really ask them these questions and get to know them and really kind of look beyond the external and go internal, you'll be able to see who that person really is, and you'll develop stronger bonds with people. And when you develop stronger bonds with people, you develop longer lasting relationships, partnerships, and, situations in general. And we're not here for, though people make a joke, it's like you're here for a good time, not a long time. If life is good to you, you will be here for a relatively, long time, longer than you think, shorter than you think as well, but longer than you think. So make the most out of it. Get to know people, be introspective, learn how you operate, learn how other people operate, and see how you can kind of come to a conjoined consensus to where you can be able to work even better with them. And then again, when you develop these great partnerships, you'll think about that person whenever you have something in mind, and they'll think about you whenever they have something in mind. And when that happens, that normally leads to, again, long-term friendships, but also a lot of money opportunities. And some of the reasons why we've had opportunities now is because we've met people and we've developed these relationships. We've asked the questions. We've gotten to know how they operate. We've maneuvered around how they operate, whether for the good or for the bad. And we're able to be profitable because of it. And you could say, that could be a little interesting, a kind of interesting way of handling things. But if you want to make money, you have to know how people operate. Again, whether for the good or for the bad. And if you know how they operate, you know how to maneuver accordingly, and you can coexist to be able to do something like make money out of it. And if you have a business, sure, you might want to help the world. That's cool. But you're in business to make money as well. So don't forget that.
That one was personal. The AM Club Podcast.
Signing out.
Mic check. The AM Club Podcast.